The alarm chimed through the frontier's edge at 300 hours, pulling Marcus Reed from the first decent sleep he'd had in 3 days. He was at the console before his brain fully processed being awake, checking the automated alert that had triggered the alarm. Distress signal, general emergency frequency, broadcasting standard SOS with location coordinates. Marcus ran the calculations, 2 hours out of his current route, which would put him behind schedule on a delivery that had tight margins. He'd lose money on the delay, probably lose the client's future business. He altered course immediately. In deep space, you answered distress calls. Economics didn't matter when someone was dying. That was the rule Marcus lived by, the code that kept frontier space from being complete lawless chaos. 2 hours later, his scanners picked up the source. A small moon, barely habitable atmosphere, no settlements or stations within reasonable distance. And on the surface, one damaged escape pod with failing life support. Marcus brought the frontier's edge down fast, ignoring the atmospheric turbulence that rattled the cargo hold. He grabbed his emergency medical kit and ran out the moment the airlock equalized. The escape pod was Velrani design, high-end diplomatic model. It had crash-landed hard, scorched from atmospheric entry and pitted with what looked like weapons fire. Marcus forced the damaged hatch open and found a single occupant. A Velrani woman, unconscious, her elegant long ears pressed flat against her skull in a way that Marcus's limited xenobiology knowledge recognized as extreme distress. She'd been shot, plasma burns across her side, the distinctive pattern of Velrani military weapons. Dehydration, exposure, and based on the blood loss, she didn't have much time left. Marcus didn't waste time on questions. He got her stabilized with the emergency supplies in his kit, then carried her back to his ship. His medical bay was designed for human injuries, but the principles translated: stop bleeding, restore fluids, monitor vitals, keep the patient alive until proper medical care was available. She regained consciousness while he was sealing the worst of the plasma burns with emergency tissue adhesive. Her eyes opened, sharp, intelligent, filled with pain and fear, and she tried to pull away. "Easy," Marcus said, keeping his voice calm and steady. "You're safe. I'm not going to hurt you. You sent a distress call. I'm responding. My name is Marcus Reed, and I'm going to finish treating your injuries. Then we can talk." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded slightly and stopped resisting. Marcus finished the emergency treatment, got her hydrated with an IV that his medical database assured him was compatible with Velrani physiology, and finally allowed himself to ask questions. "I'm Marcus," he repeated, "independent freight hauler. Your distress beacon brought me here. Can you tell me what happened?" "I'm Kale." Her voice was rough from dehydration. I witnessed something I shouldn't have. High-level corruption within the Velrani diplomatic corps. When I tried to report it, I was declared a traitor. They tried to kill me. I managed to escape in that pod, sent the distress call hoping someone would respond before they found me. "They shot you." "Yes, my own people." Kale's ears flattened further. "By helping me, you've made yourself a target. They'll be looking for both of us now. I'm sorry. I had no choice but to call for help, but I've put you in danger." Marcus absorbed this. "So you're being hunted by your own people because you tried to report corruption?" "Yes. And you sent a distress call hoping someone would help despite the risk." "I had no other option. I was dying." Kale met his eyes. "I'm grateful you responded, but you should know what you've involved yourself in. The people hunting me are professionals. They won't stop because a human freight hauler got in their way. Then we'll need to be smarter than them." Marcus checked her vital signs, stabilizing. "Good. You rest, heal. We'll figure out the rest once you're not dying anymore." "You're not afraid." "I'm terrified. But I responded to your distress call, which means I'm responsible for keeping you alive. Fear doesn't change that obligation." Marcus stood. "Get some rest. We've got time before anyone can track us here, and I need to plot a route that keeps us ahead of whoever's hunting you." Kale watched him leave with an expression that mixed gratitude, confusion, and something that might be hope. Over the following days, as Kale recovered in Marcus's small medical bay, she explained more about her situation. She'd been a mid-level diplomat, posted to human frontier stations as part of cultural exchange programs. During that assignment, she discovered that several high-ranking Velrani officials were using their diplomatic positions to facilitate smuggling operations, weapons, restricted technology, even sentient beings sold into forced labor. I reported it through official channels, she explained. Thought I was doing the right thing. Instead, I was declared mentally unstable, relieved of my position, and marked for protective custody, which was really elimination. I managed to escape before they could disappear me quietly. You have proof. Encrypted data I downloaded before I fled, but it's useless if I'm dead and it dies with me. Kale's expression was grim. That's why they're so determined to eliminate me before I can transmit this information to authorities who aren't compromised. Then, we need to keep you alive and find trustworthy authorities. Marcus said it like it was simple problem-solving, like they were discussing cargo routing rather than survival against professional hunters. You say that so calmly. Like evading trained operatives and exposing interstellar corruption is just another day's work. Well, I've never done it before, so there's a learning curve. But the principles are sound. Stay ahead of pursuit, protect the evidence, find people who can act on that evidence. Marcus shrugged. I'm better with starship maintenance than spy games, but improvisation is its own skill. Kale laughed despite their situation. You're remarkable, Marcus Reed. Most people would have turned me over by now. Saved themselves the trouble. I responded to your distress call. That means something to me, even if it doesn't mean anything legally. Actually, Kale said carefully, it means something legally too, under Velrani law at least. What do you mean? The distress call I sent used specific emergency protocols. When you responded, when you risked your own safety to provide aid, you invoked what we call the protector's bond. You became legally recognized as my chosen protector under Velrani law. Marcus processed this. I didn't know that. I just responded because that's what you're supposed to do when someone sends an SOS. I know. That's what makes the bond genuine. You didn't help me for legal advantages or political gain. You helped because it was right. That's what the protector's bond is designed to recognize. Kale sat up carefully, still healing but much stronger than when Marcus had found her. This actually helps us. Killing someone's recognized protector is a grave crime even in Velrani culture. The hunters will be more cautious because harming you would create complications beyond just eliminating me. So I'm legally bound to protect you now, and I'm bound to honor that protection. The bond creates obligations for both parties. She studied him. Are you angry that you've been legally bound to something without knowing? I'm already protecting you. The legal framework doesn't change what I'm already doing. Marcus smiled slightly. Besides, sounds like this bond might actually help us survive. I'll take whatever advantages are available. Most humans would resent being bound by alien laws they didn't know existed. Most humans probably didn't spend 5 years hauling freight across frontier space where half your clients are alien, and you learn to navigate multiple legal systems. Marcus checked the navigation display. We need to move soon. Can you travel? Yes, I'm healed enough. Kale stood, testing her strength. Thank you, Marcus, for responding, for protecting me, for treating this like it matters. It does matter, you matter. He said it simply, like it was obvious. Now let's figure out how to keep you alive long enough to expose the people who tried to kill you. Over the next week, Marcus and Kale developed a routine born of necessity and mutual respect. Marcus plotted courses that kept them off major shipping lanes, while still allowing him to complete enough work to maintain his ship and supplies. Kale helped where she could. Her diplomatic training included logistics and planning that proved useful for their evasion strategy. You're good at this, Marcus observed one afternoon while Kale was calculating their next jump. Route planning, thinking 3 steps ahead. Diplomatic training emphasizes strategic thinking, anticipating consequences, planning for contingencies. She completed the calculation. This route avoids 3 major checkpoints and 2 systems with heavy Velrani presence. It'll add 4 days to your schedule. Better than being caught by hunters. Marcus input the coordinates. How long before they find us? Hard to say. They're professionals, but we have advantages. You're an independent operator with no fixed route or schedule. I know how they think and can anticipate their strategies, and the Protector's bond complicates their mission parameters. Kale's expression turned serious. But they will find us eventually. We need a long-term plan beyond evasion. I've been thinking about that. You said you have evidence, encrypted data. We need to transmit that somewhere. It can't be suppressed. Neutral authorities, independent media, someone with the reach and credibility to investigate. The people I reported to initially were compromised. How do we know who to trust? I have contacts, independent journalists, neutral diplomatic channels, people who have built reputations on exposing corruption. Marcus pulled up his contact list. None of them are Velrani, which might actually help. They don't have political ties to your people's internal power structures. It could work, but transmitting from just anywhere would reveal our location. We'd need to do it from somewhere secure, somewhere we can defend if the hunters arrive before the data goes public. They spent days planning, using Marcus's knowledge of frontier space and Kale's strategic training to identify potential transmission points. During this time, their relationship shifted from simple protector and protected to genuine partnership. "You treat me like an equal," Kale observed one evening. "Not like someone you're obligated to protect. Not like a problem to manage. Like a partner. Because you are. The Protector's bond might be why we're together, but you're brilliant at strategy. You understand the political landscape I'm navigating, and honestly, I'd be lost without your input." Marcus smiled. "Plus, you make better food synthesizer choices than I do. That protein paste you selected actually tastes like food." Diplomatic training includes adapting to various species' nutritional needs. I couldn't let you survive on whatever approximation of nutrition you'd been eating. I was surviving just fine on nutrient paste and coffee. You were surviving, not thriving. There's a difference. Kale's tone was teasing, but her expression held genuine affection. "Thank you, Marcus, for treating me like a person rather than an obligation, for making this feel like partnership rather than duty." It is partnership. I may have responded to your distress call out of duty, but everything since then has been choice. And I'm choosing to work with you because you're smart, capable, and I trust you. The conversation was interrupted by proximity alarms. Marcus was at the console immediately, pulling up scanner data. 3 ships moving in formation, clearly military despite running civilian transponders. "They found us," Kale said, her voice tight. "Yeah, and they're moving to intercept." "Hold on." Marcus diverted all power to engines and ran evasive patterns that pushed his ship's capabilities to their limits. The pursuing vessels were faster, better armed, but Marcus had spent 15 years learning how to make his aging freight hauler do things it wasn't designed for. They managed to reach the nearest station, barely, and docked in a cargo bay that Marcus knew from previous runs. The station was neutral territory, technically, but that wouldn't stop determined hunters for long. "We need supplies, and I need to make contact with some of my sources," Marcus said, gathering what weapons he had. "Not many and not impressive, but something." "Stay close. If they found us here, they'll be coming." They were moving through the cargo section when 3 Velrani operatives materialized from the shadows, professional, armed, clearly the hunters Kale had warned about. The lead operative spoke in calm, measured tones. "Kale of House Meyerth. You're wanted for questioning regarding diplomatic irregularities. Come with us peacefully, and this doesn't need to escalate." "I witnessed your crimes," Kale said, her voice steady despite obvious fear. "I'm not going anywhere with you." The operative's gaze shifted to Marcus. "Human, You've involved yourself in Velrani internal affairs. We're prepared to compensate you for your trouble and any inconvenience. Turn over Kale, walk away with payment for your ship's damages, no consequences. No, Marcus said. You've invoked the Protector's bond. That complicates our mission, but bonds can be dissolved. Release your claim, accept compensation, everyone walks away. I said no. She asked for help. I gave it. I'm not abandoning her because you're offering me money to betray her trust. The operative's expression hardened. Then you're choosing to make this difficult. What followed was chaos. Marcus wasn't a trained fighter. He was a freight hauler with basic self-defense knowledge. But Kale, despite her injuries, was clearly skilled in combat. More importantly, they worked together instinctively. Marcus creating distractions and opportunities, Kale exploiting them with precision strikes. During the fight, one operative got a clear shot at Kale. Marcus threw himself in the path of the plasma bolt, taking the hit across his shoulder and chest. The pain was immediate and overwhelming, but he stayed between Kale and the attacker until she could neutralize the threat. They escaped, barely, leaving the operatives injured but alive. Marcus's ship launched with alarms screaming about his medical condition, and Kale had to take the helm while he tried to stay conscious through the pain. Why did you do that? Kale demanded once they were safely away and she was treating his plasma burns. You could have died. You could have died if I didn't. That wasn't acceptable. Marcus gritted his teeth against the pain as she applied treatment. I told you I'm not abandoning you. Protector's bond or not, you're my responsibility and my partner. That means something. You literally shielded me with your body. Yeah, well, seemed like the right move at the time. Marcus tried for humor despite the pain. Did it work? Yes, you idiot. You saved my life again. Kale's hands were shaking as she finished the treatment. But you can't keep throwing yourself into plasma fire for me. I can and I will if that's what keeping you alive requires. Marcus met her eyes. That's what partners do, we protect each other. Kale was quiet for a long moment. Then, in Velrani culture, what you just did, physically shielding your protected with your own body, that's the ultimate demonstration of the Protector's bond. It proves the bond is genuine rather than just legal formality. You've just made our connection unbreakable under our laws. Good, because I wasn't planning on breaking it anyway. Marcus's injuries forced them to stop at a hidden way station he knew, a place where frontier traders went when they needed to disappear for a while. While he recovered, Kale tended to him with the same care he'd shown her, and their connection deepened beyond just protector and protected. You're healing well, Kale said one evening, checking his bandages. Another week and you'll be back to normal function. The plasma burns were severe, but you're responding to treatment. Thanks to you. You know Velrani medical techniques that human treatment doesn't cover. We're partners. I'm not going to provide inferior care just because you're a different species. Kale finished the bandage change. Marcus, I need to tell you something about the Protector's bond and what it means long-term. I thought you already explained it. I explained the basics, that responding to my distress call created a legal bond under Velrani law, but there's more to it than I told you. Kale sat down, clearly struggling with how to explain. The Protector's bond isn't just legal framework. It's designed to recognize genuine connections formed through crisis. When someone responds to a distress call, risks themselves to help a stranger, continues protecting them despite danger, that creates something real, not just obligation. I know it's real. I wouldn't still be here if it wasn't. What I mean is, the bond is permanent unless both parties agree to dissolve it. And dissolving it requires formal process, official documentation, mutual consent. It's not something that just fades over time. She met his eyes. You're legally bound to me for life unless we actively choose to end the connection. Marcus processed this. I didn't know that when I responded to your distress call. I know. That's why I'm telling you now. You have the right to know what you're committed to. Kale's expression was vulnerable. If you want to dissolve the bond once we've dealt with the hunters and exposed the corruption, I'll understand. You didn't sign up for lifelong obligation to an alien woman you barely know. Barely know. Marcus smiled despite the pain from his injuries. Kale, we've spent weeks together. I know you make terrible jokes when you're nervous. Know you're brilliant at strategy but terrible at basic ship maintenance. Know you value integrity over convenience even when it nearly got you killed. I know you're brave and smart and genuine in ways that are rare regardless of species. That's not barely knowing someone. You're saying you don't want to dissolve the bond. I'm saying I chose to protect you the moment I responded to your distress call. Everything since then has reinforced that choice. Why would I dissolve a bond with someone I've come to value as a partner and friend? Kale looked away, but Marcus saw the tears. Most people would resent being permanently bound to obligations they didn't choose. I did choose. Maybe not with full knowledge of Velrani law, but I chose to respond, chose to protect you, chose to keep protecting you despite the danger. Those were all conscious decisions. Marcus reached for her hand. The legal framework is just making official what I already decided. They spent the following days planning their next move. They couldn't run forever, couldn't keep evading hunters indefinitely. They needed to expose the corruption Kale had witnessed, transmit her evidence to authorities who could act on it. Marcus contacted his most reliable source, an independent journalist named Sarah Chen, who'd built a reputation on exposing interstellar corruption. She agreed to receive the data and verify it before publication, but warned that transmission would reveal their location. We need somewhere defensible, Marcus said, studying star charts. Somewhere we can transmit from and hold position long enough for the data to reach Sarah's secure servers. There. Kale pointed at a neutral station on the charts, Coriolis Station. Neutral territory, heavy security, multiple transmission arrays. If we can reach it, we can transmit from there with some protection. It took 3 days of careful navigation to reach Coriolis Station without being intercepted. They docked, paid for premium secure transmission services, and began the data upload. This is going to take 30 minutes, Sarah's voice came through encrypted comms. The data is extensive and I need time to verify authenticity before I can publish. Can you hold position that long? We'll hold, Marcus promised, though he had no idea if that was true. 20 minutes into the transmission, the hunters arrived. Marcus saw them on the station's security feeds, 3 operatives, moving with purpose toward the transmission bay. He grabbed the weapons they'd acquired and positioned himself between the entrance and Kale. Keep the transmission going, he told her. No matter what happens, make sure that data reaches Sarah. The operatives breached the bay with professional efficiency. The lead hunter, the same one who'd offered Marcus compensation days ago, assessed the situation quickly. The data is already transmitting. You can't stop it. Marcus kept his weapon trained on them. Give up, you've lost. We can still eliminate the source. Without Kale to testify, the data loses credibility. You'll have to go through me first. We're willing to do that. The operative raised his weapon. Last chance. Walk away. This doesn't concern you. Everything that concerns Kale concerns me. That's what the Protector's bond means. The confrontation was interrupted by station security. Sarah had alerted them to possible hostile action, and neutral station security didn't take threats lightly. The hunters were forced to stand down or face arrest on neutral territory. Transmission complete, Sarah's voice came through comms. Data received, verified, and being distributed to oversight authorities and media outlets across 5 sectors. It's done, Kale, you've exposed them. Kale sagged with relief against the transmission console. It's really over. The immediate danger, yes. The political fallout will take time, but the data is out there. You're safe now. Marcus lowered his weapon as station security escorted the hunters away. We did it. You did it. You kept me alive long enough to transmit the data. You protected me when everyone else wanted me silenced. Kale moved to him, her expression mixing gratitude with something deeper. Thank you doesn't feel adequate for what you've done. You don't owe me thanks. We're partners. That's what partners do. Over the following weeks, the investigation that Kale's data triggered moved swiftly. The corrupt officials were arrested. The smuggling operations were shut down. Kale was offered full exoneration and an opportunity to return to her diplomatic position with commendations for her courage in exposing the corruption. But there was still the matter of the protector's bond. I can dissolve it officially, Kale told Marcus during a quiet moment in his ship. Release you from any obligation to me. You fulfilled the bond's requirements. You protected me until the danger passed. The law would recognize dissolution as appropriate now. Do you want to dissolve it? Marcus asked. I'm asking what you want. I asked first. Kale laughed despite the seriousness of the conversation, always so direct. Her smile faded. The truth is, I don't want to dissolve it. You responded to my distress call when I was dying and hopeless. You've protected me, partnered with me, treated me with respect and genuine care. You've become someone I value beyond the legal bond. I want you in my life, Marcus. Not because the law says we're connected, but because I choose to be connected to you. Then we agree, because I feel the same way. Marcus took her hand. I responded to your distress call because it was right. But everything since then, protecting you, working with you, building this partnership, that's been choice. I'm choosing you, Kale, not because I have to, but because I want to. The protector's bond remains active then, by mutual choice. By mutual choice. 6 months after Marcus had responded to a distress call that changed his life, he and Kale had built something neither of them had expected, a genuine partnership that transcended the legal bond that brought them together. Kale had been offered multiple prestigious positions within Velrani diplomatic service, but she declined them all. Instead, she joined Marcus as co-owner of the Frontier's Edge, using her skills and connections to secure better contracts while he handled the actual freight operations. You're sure about this? Marcus asked when she officially signed the partnership papers. You could be a high-ranking diplomat. Instead, you're hauling freight with a human who flies by the seat of his pants. I'm choosing partnership with someone who responded to my distress call and risked everything to protect me. Someone who values integrity over convenience. Someone who makes me laugh even in terrible situations. Kale smiled. Besides, diplomatic work was isolating. This, working with you, actually helping people by delivering essential supplies to frontier worlds, this feels meaningful. They developed a reputation across frontier space, the human and Velrani partnership that treated everyone with respect, answered distress calls regardless of profit, and maintained the highest standards of integrity. Other freight haulers started calling them for backup when situations got complicated. Knowing Marcus and Kale would help without demanding exorbitant compensation. We're becoming frontier legends, Marcus joked after their third rescue mission in as many months. The freight haulers who actually answer distress calls. Someone has to. You taught me that. Kale checked their next delivery schedule. Besides, we know better than anyone how important it is that someone responds when you call for help. They were making a routine delivery when their emergency receiver picked up a distress signal, automated SOS, general frequency, coming from a small moon with minimal atmosphere. Marcus and Kale looked at each other, then altered course simultaneously. Some things don't change, Kale said. Some things shouldn't, Marcus agreed. They found a damaged vessel and 2 survivors, a human and a centauri, both injured, clearly having been attacked by pirates. Marcus and Kale worked together with practiced efficiency, treating injuries and getting the survivors aboard their ship. Thank you, the human said weakly. We thought no one would respond out here. We respond, Marcus said simply. That's what you do when someone needs help. Later, after the survivors were stable and resting, Kale found Marcus in the cockpit, staring out at the stars. Thinking about the day you responded to my distress call, she asked. Yeah. Thinking about how different my life is now compared to then. How one decision to respond to an SOS changed everything. Do you regret it? Not for a second. Marcus turned to her. I was just thinking. Before I found you, I was going through the motions. Hauling freight, answering distress calls out of obligation rather than genuine care, not really building toward anything. You gave me purpose beyond just surviving, gave me partnership I didn't know I needed. You saved my life multiple times, and you gave meaning to mine. He took her hand. The protector's bond brought us together. But we chose to make it real, to build something genuine from legal obligation. That's the part that matters. I agree. Cale leaned against him comfortably. We should probably check on our passengers, make sure they're healing properly. Probably, but first, Marcus kissed her, gentle and genuine. Thank you for sending that distress call, for trusting that someone would respond, for choosing to stay even after the danger passed. Thank you for being someone who responds, who protects, who treats obligations as opportunities rather than burdens. Cale smiled. Now let's go check on those survivors. They're our responsibility now. Just like you were mine. Just like we're each other's. They went attend their passengers together, partners in every sense, bonded by law, united by choice, proving that answering a cry for help can reshape destinies and create connections deeper than either person expected. The protector's bond that began with a distress call and a response had become something neither wanted to dissolve. A partnership built on mutual respect, genuine affection, and the simple truth that sometimes the most profound connections form when someone chooses to help without knowing what that choice will cost. Marcus had responded to a distress call expecting to help a stranger for a few hours. Instead, he'd found the person who would become his partner for life. Some obligations, it turned out, were worth keeping forever.